here we are, December 21st, 2022. We're getting ready for Christmas. I want to remind you of what we're about to celebrate, of what we are celebrating. Luke chapter 2, verse 1. In those days, Caesar Augustus issued a decree that a census should be taken of the entire Roman world in such a time as this. The fullness of time is what Paul says about this time. This was the first census that took place while Quirinius was governor of Syria, and everyone went to his own town to register. So Joseph also went up from the town of Nazareth in Galilee to Judea, to Bethlehem, the town of David, because he belonged to the house and line of David. He went there to register with Mary, who was pledged to be married to him and was expecting a child. And while they were there, the time came for the baby to be born, and she gave birth to her firstborn, a son. She wrapped him in cloths and placed him in a manger, because there was no room for them in the inn. Here at Trinity, we've been seeking to make disciples, sharing Christ's story of love for over 140 years. Sharing Christ's story of love, Christ's story, the Christmas story of how God sent His Son, Jesus, to save us. What a blessing. And I can't help every time I read this passage, when I hear there's no room for them in the inn, I'm reminded of the busyness of our life, the busyness of this world that God stepped down into, and how God desires for us to make room for Him. And so I don't know what's happening in your world, in your life, in your heart, in your mind. But I think the question that I'm asking myself, that I hear God asking me, and that I want to ask you is, do you have room for Him, His story this year? Specifically this Christmas. Will you make room for Him? What does that look like in your life? Will you go to a worship service on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day? Will you spend some time in devotion? Will you spend time with family in devotion, or family celebrating His birth in worship time? Right? Not just Christmas, but every day of our life, that we would make room for Him in the busyness of our schedules, make room for Him. In the book of Revelations, it says Jesus, right, the one who was born, the one who we celebrate, is knocking at the door of our lives, of our homes. He's asking us to let Him in. And so will we let Him in? Will we continue to let Him in this Christmas? And will we continue to share His story, this Christmas story, with the next generation, with our neighbors, with our friends, this great gospel truth that the angels showed up lighting the darkness for the shepherds. Right? He's made room for us. He wants to spend time with you and me. And certainly this Christmas that we would do that. But even more than that, every day of our life. And as we share Christ's story of love, this great Christmas story that the angels shared with the shepherds, that they have a Savior. They have a Savior. They have peace with God. May we share this story with those in our life. May we pass this on to the next generation. And so Merry Christmas, and let's make room for Him in our lives.